Television and movies were integral in helping me develop who I am. And maybe that's just justification so I could spend 8 hours every day watching Gilmore Girls again, or binge watching a new show, or making our way through a list of Oscar movies from this year. But actually, I viewed television and movies as works of literature and valued works that allowed me to analyze characters, understand themes, and see kind of parallels between life and these films and pop culture. When I was in an English class here at UM, my teacher kind of invited me into this world of movies and television as literature. Her name was Susan Leary, and instead of reading books or papers or essays, we watched movies and television shows. Freshman year, we explored Good Will Hunting, or the idea of the present and the future present in the now from watching the movie Noah. We also looked at the juxtaposition and coexistence of joy and sadness from Inside Out. And then freshman year, we talked about the parallel and the journey of a hero and a sidekick, a trope found in Lost. And that's what made me be excited to explore a paper I wrote senior year called The Trauma of Leadership. And trauma of leadership, pretty dramatic, right? But the prompt defined trauma as something where there was a discrepancy between what you saw and the views you had and society's views. So for me, there was a difference between how I viewed leadership and how society viewed leadership. A leader is a term that's thrown around often, maybe even sometimes loses a bit of its meaning because it's used so often. And a lot of people are praised for being a title of the leader or holding the role of a leader rather than specifically showing actions and displaying actions and leading by example. So rather than the actions, they prioritized the noun. And I viewed this noun-prioritized society viewed as a society-exalted hero. And initially, I felt like I had to fit this mold. I was supposed to subscribe to the definition of leadership that other people defined for me. But as I watched these television shows and movies, I started relating more to the minor characters and the people who were maybe considered the sidekicks, often characters who are forgotten, but are crucial in achieving goals and making waves. Sidekicks are connectors. Let's look at a childhood staple, if we've watched it as a young kid or with our kids, Finding Nemo, right? Nemo and Dory work together to travel across the ocean on this great adventure to find Marlin's son, Nemo. Nemo and Dory don't work together. Marlin and Dory work together. Sorry, team. Okay, so they're looking for Nemo, right? And Marlin is super stressed and focused. He's this hero, and he's trying to make it through the whole ocean. Big feat, right? But the great thing about Dory is she's his foil. She's able to act approachable and be a connector and allow Marlin to connect to other fish and other examples as he navigates his way across the ocean. So for example, remember that scene right before they go into the jellyfish area where they meet a school of fish? Marlin's super terse and aggressive, and he's just stressed because he's trying to look for his son. But Dory is able to act approachably and relatably, and she's able to relate to the fish and get information that she needs. So after a few jokes, calling him Fabio or whatever, she's able to get directions to Sydney, which is what they need to complete their goal. And I related a lot to that with Dory and I sharing quirkiness and the ability to relate to others, but sometimes I wasn't really sure that my gregarious and jovial personality was always going to be proved beneficial in the workplace or professional life. So I was really nervous that this wasn't a trait that should be valued. But I learned from her example and saw this as an important trait and something that I could use to be successful in my own life. For instance, I used to be the Butler Center Service and Leadership Student Coordinator, and I would run these presentations with like GIFs, jury's still on that, galore, talking specifically about our organization and our mission and all this stuff. But sometimes I was nervous that my jokes would make me be shown as someone less or not elevated or someone to be respected. But hearing feedback after, they were like, we felt so passionate about what you were talking about because you were passionate and relatable. So there actually is value and valiance in being the relatable sidekick. Sidekicks are also sacrificial and selfless. The hero has a job to do, a city to save, a villain to defeat. He's focused and under a lot of pressure to complete a specific goal. And the sidekick supports the hero. And his behind-the-scenes position and role allows him the ability to take more risks and work hard to achieve their shared goal. Oftentimes, the sidekick sacrifices himself for the hero and the greater good. Another example, childhood staple. We've all seen Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. No one? Okay, so we've all seen that movie, right? Remember at the end, Harry, Ron, and Hermione are tasked, or they take it upon themselves, to go deep down and find and protect the Sorcerer's Stone from other people. They think it's Snape, but it's wrong, whatever. So basically, they go down and they're going through all these enchantments to try to pass all these obstacles. When they get to Wizard's Chess, which is just like chess, but except super vile and pretty violent, where the other team, like the players, physically destroy the pieces. Remember this part? Yeah, would not want to be playing that. So they're going through this. The only way to get across this goal is to pass through and play the game and win. And at one point, Ron recognizes that he must sacrifice himself so Harry can continue on and be the hero. He recognizes his position in this shared goal and accepts his role in this shared goal to show that the hero can move on. This physical demonstration is a trope that is often seen in movies and television. But in my personal life, I haven't, fortunately, been requested or forced to sacrifice myself physically, but sometimes I've given up personal wants or goals that I've had for the greater good of the group. For example, I was appointed as a position of treasurer, math major, so they were like, you can add. That's what I did, instead of something that I thought would be a little more out of my comfort zone or expand my goal interests. But I realized that that's actually where I was most needed for the good of the entire organization. And my behind-the-scenes role allowed our organization to flourish more than it would if I was a different position. Sidekicks are influential. Parks and Recreation is a show that took a sidekick and portrayed her as important. Maybe don't consider Leslie Knope as a sidekick, but she is, just based on the hierarchical position of the roles at the Parks Department. Ron Swanson is the director, and she's the deputy director, like second in command. But she literally, to quote Chris Traeger, does all of the work. She is filled with positivity and motivation and really tries to help and motivate others. If she can make April Ludgate smile, we know she's doing something right. She's a powerhouse, an Energizer bunny. She loves work, friends, and waffles, not necessarily in that order, and strives her best to make everyone feel special and everyone to feel important. In this show, taking this story and successfully telling the story of the sidekick, displaying her as an integral part in accomplishing the goals of the Parks Department, allowed me to see representation of my traits and myself, how we share positivity and being able to develop others, and seeing those as important. By looking at Leslie's example and the show as a whole, I began to value myself and come closer to the journey of accepting myself for who I am. I began to appreciate my strengths. I learned that embracing my strengths was itself a form of leadership. Maybe I'm not the quintessential leader, according to society's definition, but I'm learning to be the sidekick and embracing that role that's unequivocally me. So thank you to Dory and Ron and Leslie. Thank you Phoebe from Friends, and Dwight from The Office, Hurley from Lost, and George O'Malley from Grey's. Thank you Susan Leary, Neil and Ramona from Real Life. Thank you all so much.